Hey guys, I'm Alpha Portrait and welcome to week 24 of the 2018-2019 Premier League review. If you are new to the series, what we do is we take a look at the past set Premier League results, we take a look at the Premier League table, and we finish off by looking at those darn top goal scorers. So here are the past set of Premier League results. These games were played on Tuesday the 29th and Wednesday the 30th of January 2019. Also, next games are their times in this video, so if you want to about a specific match, just go to the time next to the game and you'll skip out all the other crap. But without further ado, let's get into our first match. We start with Fulham versus Brighton. Just 3 minutes into the match, Brighton took the lead as the best striker to ever grace the football pitch. Glenn Murray put the Seagulls in front. Martin Montoya was given too much space on the right hand side and he picks out Glenn Murray with a driven low cross in. It avoids everyone and Murray is quick on his heels to get in front of his man and stroke his effort first time into the bottom left corner. And Brighton doubled their lead in the 17th minute as Glenn Murray got his and Brighton's second of the night. A cross into the middle was deflected off of Dennis Adoy and flew into the air. Pascal Gross leaps up for it and seems to be going for the spectacular, but his overhead kick attempt is going wide and ends up falling kindly to Glenn Murray, who reacted quickly and swiftly swept home from point blank range. But Fulham were going to go back 3 minutes at the second half as Callum Chambers cut the deficit in half. What a finish as well from Chambers. A ball was pumped into the middle, Mitrovic doesn't win it, but the clearance falls to the fullback on the edge of the area and he hit it first time on the volley and it flew into the top left corner. And Fulham leveled the game up in the 58th minute as Alexander Mitrovic made it all square. Fulham just kept on bugging Brighton with balls into the middle and eventually one paid off as the ball is played in and everyone misses it. Keeper starts to come for it and the Brighton defence tries to stop the Serbian, but he just wanted it more as the big centre forward fought everyone for it, leapt above about 4 Brighton players and nodded home from close range. And Fulham completed the comeback in the 75th minute as Alexander Mitrovic got his second of the night to make it 3-2 to Fulham. Ryan Babel led the ball back to Joe Bryant and he swung across into the middle. It's a great cross and one that Mitrovic is going to get all day long, right on the 6-yard line. Once again, Mitro just wants it more, gets above his man and nodded home for his second. And Fulham pulled away a bit as Luciano Vietto made it 4-2 in the 80th minute. Tom Kearney's curling effort from outside the area bounced off of the woodwork. It drops to Ryan Babel. I'm not sure he meant it. I think he's just trying to get anything on it and divert it goalwards, but instead it ended up being a perfect pass across goal to Vietto, who headed home to wrap the game up. And that's how the game ended, with Fulham picking up a massive win at the bottom after a fantastic second half display. They couldn't have prepared for a worse start, but Brighton failed to deal with the constant balls being pumped into the middle for Mitrovic. Glenn Murray should have had a hat-trick in the first half as he had plenty of chances to add a third to Brighton's lead, but in the end he couldn't find the net again and Fulham completed an impressive second half comeback. And we move on to Newcastle versus Man City. The official time for the first goal in this match was 24 seconds. Man City took the lead in just 24 seconds. I was changing channel to watch the game and they already scored, for God's sake. Sterling crosses in from the right. David Silva is brave and challenges for it. He seems to slip but still managed to get his head on it and for his reward gets a knee to the face by the keeper. The ball bounces perfectly for Aguero, who planted his standing foot and roundhouse kicked a volley home. But Newcastle leveled the game up in the 65th minute as Salomon Rondon got the goal. Matt Ritchie put a ball into the middle that was cleared but not far enough as the ball was headed back into the box. Rondon is clearly onside. Christian Atsu is simply going for it, but the impressive thing about this is Rondon wraps his foot around his teammate and pokes a volley home. It's actually crazy. Like, he's behind Atsu. He just somehow bends his foot around his teammate and gets there. I'm not sure how he does it, to be fair. And 10 minutes later, Newcastle will get the perfect chance to take the lead as they were given a penalty. Clear penalty, really, as Fernandinho surprisingly was caught in possession in his own box. Sean Longstaff nipped in and was fouled by the Brazilian, and the ref pointed to the spot. Matt Ritchie stepped up to take it and he drilled his effort into the bottom right corner. And that is how the game ended, with Newcastle handing Liverpool a massive helping hand at the top of the table. Man City had the chance to go 1 point behind Liverpool as they played before the Reds for the first time in a few weeks, but they failed to take advantage of the earlier game and gave Liverpool the chance to go 7 points clear if they were able to win at Leicester last night. 2 uncharacteristic lapses of concentration at the back cost Man City after their amazing start. To be fair, Man City rarely threatened Martin Dubravka in the Newcastle net, and because of that, the North East side grew in belief. Nothing less than 3 points seemed possible when Aguero opened the scoring, but City eased off the pedal, and when Matt Ritchie slammed the penalty home, you could hear the cheers from Merseyside. City still bossed possession, but Newcastle sat deep and only allowed City's wide men to get behind on a few occasions, as the former Liverpool manager Rafa Benitez handed Liverpool a golden opportunity. And we move on to Liverpool versus Leicester. Liverpool took the lead just 2 minutes into the match as Sadio Mane give the horse an early lead. Bobby Firmino and Johnny Evans were jostling for position on the edge of the box, and in the end, the ball goes past both of them and rolls into space where Mane is running onto it. He takes a touch and slots one home into the bottom right corner. But on the brink of half-time, Leicester levelled it up as Harry Maguire got the goal. It came from a really needless free kick to give away from Andy Robertson. James Maddison swung it in, the ball dropped to Pereira, but his shot was blocked. It then came to Chilwell, who looped his header back into the middle, and Harry Maguire is ghosting in at the back, clearly onside, and he swept into the bottom left corner from close range. And that's how the game ended. Not the worst result for Liverpool, but a poor performance from them. Leicester were so tight at the back, and they had one plan in mind: defend, and they did just that. The early goal really kicked them up the arse, as after that they were tighter than a nun's vagina. A stupid free kick to give away on the stroke of half-time cost them, as Liverpool started the match 4 points in front, but ended it 5 points in front of their closest competitors. So not the worst. Not anything but a loss was fine, really. And we move on to Bournemouth versus Chelsea. It would take until 2 minutes at the second half for one of these teams to take the lead, and it was the home side who did it, as Joshua King gave Bournemouth the lead. David Brooks had the ball on the byline, and he does well to play a brilliant reverse pass into the middle for Joshua King. The Dane hit it first time right down the middle of the net, and it flew past Kepa with a ton of pace on it. And Bournemouth doubled their lead 15 minutes later, and this time the roles were reversed as Joshua King got the assist for David Brooks. Gorgeous ball over the top by Joshua King for David Brooks. They want offside, but it's not coming, and as David Luiz tries to make up for giving the ball away, he gets back, but the Welshman does so well to cut inside of him and then put the ball the other way into the bottom right corner. And Bournemouth got a third in the 74th minute as Joshua King got his second of the match. On loan, Nathaniel Klein started the move off as he played a ball down the wing to Junior Stanislas. The winger looks up and spots King across the box, and he squares it to King, who was left with the simple task of putting it back across goal and at the top corner. And Bournemouth got a fourth in the 95th minute as Charlie Daniels got on the score sheet. Chelsea heads at this point were well and truly dropped as a free kick in a wide area was put into the middle by Ryan Fraser. Daniels breaks free of any markers and looped his header back across goal and into the bottom right. And that's how the game ended, with Bournemouth handing Chelsea their heaviest loss in over 20 years. Chelsea should have comfortably been ahead in a dominant first half, but when they managed to get near goal, they met an outstanding Artur Boruc. Bournemouth didn't have many chances, but when they got close to the goal, by God, they made it count. Despite being without their main striker Callum Wilson, who underwent minor knee surgery, Bournemouth made light work without him, with David Brooks really stepping up to the plate, and I reckon David Brooks could be a shout for Young Player of the Year. He's just been influential in Bournemouth's season, and just a bargain. Jorginho had a mare in this game, causing Chelsea more problems than he did Bournemouth, and following the game, even Howe admitted that they were targeting Jorginho because everybody, apart from Sarri, knows that N'Golo Kante is a better defensive midfielder. An up and down week for Chelsea, as they did secure their place in the League Cup final but slipped down to 5th following this huge loss, and consecutive wins for Bournemouth took them slap bang in the middle of the table in 10th. And we move on to Arsenal versus Cardiff. It was a really dire first half, not a single shot on target, but a really poor one from Arsenal. You'd be forgiven for asking which team was actually fighting for survival in the league, but Arsenal would get the perfect chance to take the lead in the 66th minute as they were given a penalty. Bruno Manga comes in, trips Sayed Kolasinac in the box, and the ref had no choice but to point to the spot. Pierre Aubameyang stepped up to take it, and he held his nerve and stroked it into the left-hand side of the net. And Arsenal doubled their lead in the 83rd minute as Alexandre Lacazette wrapped the game up. The Frenchman rode a tackle and drove into the area before firing his effort low towards goal that goes beyond Etheridge and into the back of the net. But Cardiff would make stoppage time interesting as they denied Arsenal a clean sheet in the 90th minute. Fantastic goal as well, as Nathaniel Mendes' line cut inside from the right hand side and curled an effort low into the far corner of the net. And that's how the game ended, with Arsenal overcoming a difficult first half to secure the win over an emotional Cardiff side. This was the first time that Cardiff had played since the disappearance of their new signing Emiliano Sala, and despite the defeat, Cardiff can look back in fondness as this was a good performance from them. Cardiff had some good chances in the first half, and they could have had a few goals in a poor opening 45 for Arsenal. A shock in the Arsenal lineup as Mesut Ozil came into the starting 11 for the first time this year and was given the captain's armband, but failed to make an impact and was subbed off with 15 minutes to go. Nevertheless though, Arsenal picked up the 3 points with an improved second half performance. And we move on to Wolves versus West Ham. Wolves were building pressure for pretty much all of the game, and they finally took a deserved lead in the 66th minute through Romain Saiss. Wolves should have opened the scoring earlier in the game, but they finally got what they deserved as João Moutinho swung a corner into the middle. Saiss gets the better of Ogbonna, gets in front of his man and stooped down to head the ball home. And Wolves double their lead, and I can just copy and paste for the first goal really, just this time different scorer. João Moutinho with another cross in the middle, not a corner, but basically a corner, as they had a free kick just inches away from the corner flag, and Moutinho swung the dead ball in, and Jimenez got in front of his man, put some daylight between the two sides. And Wolves wrapped the game up in the 86th minute as they made it 3-0. This one wasn't from a corner, surprisingly, as Diogo Jota broke free down the wing. He looked up and fed the ball through to Raul Jimenez, and he took a touch with his right foot and then dinked it home with his left. And as the game ended with West Ham being comfortably dispatched in one of their worst performances of the season. A third loss in a row for West Ham now after an embarrassing loss in the FA Cup to Wimbledon, and Wolves, they could have had more. They constantly carved apart the West Ham defence but had to wait until the second half until they finally put the ball in the net. Wolves dominated the game down the wings and picked up their first ever league double over West Ham with an easy win. And we move on to Manchester United versus Burnley. It would take until the 51st minute for one of these teams to take the lead, and I think to everyone's shock it was Burnley as Ashley Barnes put the visitors in front. Jack Cork robbed Andres Pereira in the middle and was able to hold the ball up until backup arrived. It eventually did with Ashley Barnes on his left, and he made no mistake as he belted his effort into the back of the net. And Burnley double their lead with 10 minutes to go, and no one is picking up the man mountain in Chris Wood. Everybody is waiting for the offside flag, but it doesn't come as Ashley Westwood swung a lovely cross into the middle, and there getting on the end of it was the Kiwi, and he nodded home from 6 yards out. But Man United got the perfect chance to get back into it in the 87th minute as they were given a penalty. It's basically what Mo Salah has been doing these last few weeks, a little touch on the shoulder, and he throws himself to the ground. And I've been slating a player who plays for the team I support, so I'm going to select Lingard as well. It's not a penalty, but the referee gives it. Pogba strolled up to take it, and after his signature stutter, he fires it into the top left corner. And would you believe it, in the 92nd minute, Man United snatched a point through Victor Lindelof. Great time to get a first goal for the club, and United were just camped in the Burnley box, and Ashley Young swung a ball into the middle. Alexis Sanchez gets on the cross, but his header was brilliantly saved by Tom Heaton, but he couldn't hold it, and there's nothing he could do about the rebound as the defender runs in and smashed it home from a tight angle. And as the game ended, with Burnley ending Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's win and run, but they weren't able to end his unbeaten streak as United manager, as the Old Trafford faithful were treated to a good old-fashioned Man United finish. Burnley defended well in the game, and it would be hard to argue that they didn't deserve the win. I noticed that voice crack. I'm going to leave it in. United applied the pressure early on in the game, but Burnley's back four and goalkeeper were excellent and snuffed any clear-cut chances to a minimum. Man United will be disappointed with the performance, but Fergie time is well and truly back at Old Trafford as a late goal stole United a point. And we move on to Tottenham versus Watford. Watford took the lead 5 minutes before the break as Craig Cathcart gave the visitors the lead. Really poo from Hugo Lloris as a corner was put into the middle. Lloris comes for it, but the World Cup winner just misjudges it, ends up in no man's land and misses the ball as it drops to Cathcart, who was there and nodded into the empty net. But Spurs levelled it up with 10 minutes to go as Son Heung-min got the equaliser on his return to the squad. Lucas Moura played a lovely ball through to Llorente in the middle. The striker tries to do it all himself and weave past the defence, but after a few deflections the ball breaks kindly into the path of the South Korean and he wellied it home. And Tottenham complete the turnaround in the 88th minute as Fernando Llorente got the 3 points for the home side. Danny Rose whipped a brilliant cross towards the back post, and it's what you'd expect from Llorente as he breaks free at the back, heads it back across goal and hammered his header into the bottom left corner. And that's the game ended as Tottenham overcame 2 cup exits to grab a late win at Wembley. Spurs were poo in the first half but were a changed team in the second 45. Fernando Llorente had some good chances to find the net earlier than he did as he had 2 great opportunities but missed from close range. Llorente was set to grab the headlines for his misses but got it for the right reasons in the end. Watford rarely got close to Tottenham's goal as it was their defensive quality that was tested in this game, and in the end they couldn't hold on as Tottenham picked up the win. And we move on to Southampton versus Crystal Palace. The away side took the lead in the 40th minute as Wilfried Zaha gave Crystal Palace the lead. Andros Townsend was brought down on the edge of the area and Palace should have a free kick, but the ref does brilliantly to play a superb advantage as Zaha picked up the loose ball and whacked a right-footed effort into the bottom left corner. But Southampton leveled the game up in the 77th minute as James Ward-Prowse made it 1-1. Ward-Prowse was screaming for the ball for the last 10 minutes or so, but his teammates just didn't give it to him. But in the end they did as Matt Targett had the ball on the left hand side of the box. He drilled a low cross into the middle, and there arriving at the back post was Ward-Prowse, who drilled it first time into the bottom left. And Crystal Palace would have to play the final few minutes with 10 men as Wilfried Zaha was dismissed. He gets a yellow card and then gets a second yellow in the space of 5 seconds? It's just childish, really. A decision doesn't go his way, and as he would say, he needs more protection. Ward-Prowse goes to take a throw, and Zaha stops and squares up, and at this point, Ward-Prowse knows what he's doing. He knows that he's got Wilfried Zaha where he wants him, and he's completely trying to wind him up. He goes for a cheeky tap on the edge, like, oh yeah, whatever, mate. Zaha slaps the hand away, and because of that, gets the first yellow card, and as soon as that happens, he gives, oh, well done. He gives one of those, he gives a sarcastic clap towards the ref, and he showed him the second yellow for dissent, and even walking off the pitch, he claps him some more, which is going to help you out, innit? And as the game ended with the points being shared on the South Coast. Zaha's first goal since September had given Palace a well-deserved lead 5 minutes from the break, but Ward-Prowse's goal ended up splitting the points. Palace had chances to score their second on both sides of Southampton's goal, as Mamadou Sakho had 2 great chances. His first header was cleared off the line and he couldn't keep his second one down. But the two teams remain on level points, with both of them being 4 points clear of the drop zone. And finally, we've got Huddersfield versus Everton. Just 3 minutes into his debut as Huddersfield manager, Jan Stewart's side found themselves behind as Richarlison gave Everton an early lead. Tom Davies has the ball on the byline and he cut it back for the attacker. The Brazilian shoots from close range. Jonas Lossell does well to deny him with his legs, but the rebound came straight back to him and Richarlison tucked it home at the second time of asking. But Everton would have to play the final half an hour with 10 men as Lucas Digne was sent off. Adama Diakhaby is driving through on goal. He's one-on-one, no attempt to play the ball, so no double jeopardy rule. He comes in from behind, tripped him up, and the ref had no chance but to show him a straight red. And as the game ended with Richarlison's early goal being the eventual winner. Huddersfield will be disappointed with their failure to take advantage of their numerical advantage, and they dominated possession in the second half, and even more after Digny's dismissal. They had the same amount of shots as Everton in the game, but shooting isn't their issue. It's putting the ball in the back of the net, which has been their main problem this season. Huddersfield have only picked up 1 point since November, with them losing 11 of their last 12 games, and Everton desperately needed this win after a disappointing run of results recently, and despite not being easy in the eye, they managed to grind out the win. Right, so that's the games I've got for this time. Before we go, let's take a look at the Premier League table and top goal scorers, starting off with the Premier League table. Starting with the top 5, and as you can see, Liverpool extended their lead at the top by a point as they were held to a draw with Leicester. Man City were handed a shock loss in the North East as they lost to Newcastle. Tottenham closed the gap on the top 2 as they beat Watford. Arsenal moved up to 4th after beating Cardiff, and Chelsea make up the top 5 after their goal difference took a beating as they were whacked by Bournemouth. Moving on to the bottom 5, and Huddersfield are on the bottom after a loss to Everton. Fulham are 19th after a stunning comeback against Brighton. Cardiff make up the drop zone after a loss at Arsenal. Burnley is 17th after a late goal cost them a win at Old Trafford, and Southampton make up the bottom 5 after a draw with Crystal Palace. Moving on to the top goal scorers, and as you can see, Mo Salah is on the top. He couldn't find the net against Leicester. He stayed on 16 goals and 7 assists. Pierre Aubameyang scored from the spot against Cardiff. He moved to 15 goals and 4 assists. Harry Kane is 3rd on 14 goals and 4 assists. Sergio Aguero got a goal after just 24 seconds. That took him to 11 goals and 6 assists. And making up the top 5 is Eden Hazard, who hasn't scored in a while. He's still on 10 goals and 10 assists. Right, so that's go for this time. If you didn't drop a shot, leave a like and subscribe, and I'll be back on Tuesday at 4 PM for the next episode of the Premier League review. If you want to stay up to date about anything we do, it would be best to follow us on Twitter. The link to that is in the description, or it's at portionofsport_. If you missed the last episode, that will be on the right hand side of the outro screen, and a link to the channel will be on the left if you feel like subscribing. But anyway, thanks for watching. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you are new. I've been Mark from A Portion of Sport, and I will see you soon.
My mama called, see you on TV. Sunset shit done changed. Ever since we was on, I dreamed it all. Ever since I was young, they said I will be